In the last few videos, we've been covering electricity. I tend to cover that a lot since we talk about motors. So today I wanted to talk about Ohm's law. Ohm. Be at peace. But hopefully the ohms are not so high that it blows to pieces. Ohm's law is named after George Ohm. He was a German dude that lived in the 1800s. And to me, it's kind of crazy that we've known about electricity since the 1800s, but it really didn't take off until, really the mid 1900s. In our state, in Missouri, we didn't even have much electric grid until the 70s. The 70s. Think about that. The majority of homes in our state didn't have electricity until after the 70s. We also didn't have a Department of Education, so there was thousands and thousands of little educational whatever you would call it, like, I walked 5 miles in the snow uphill both ways to my school in the morning time. That was the thing in Missouri, is that everybody would just send their kids to school walking in the morning time and coming home. There's just little schoolhouses dotting everywhere in Missouri. It has nothing to do with Ohm's law. But talking about electricity and how backwards our state was, at least, we've known about Ohm's law for probably, it hadn't been quite 200 years, I don't think. And I don't think, Mr. Ohm didn't call it Ohm's law at first, right? And now, instead of saying the resistance of something, we say the ohms of something. And you can ohm out things. So it's a name, it's a noun, it's a verb. It's the term ohm now has, it's also an ohm meter. I don't say resistance meter, it's an ohm meter. I got one right here. And it might even say, does it say on it that it's an ohm meter? No, it doesn't. Multimeter, yeah, this is technically a multimeter. So the symbol for the ohm is this guy right here. I don't know what that symbol's called, but it's something. And we call it for ohms. And the way that I always remembered was amps times ohms equals volts. So amp times ohm equals volts. But we have this nice little pyramid here that is a good cheat sheet. So if you want to solve for I, which is amps, then you do voltage divided by resistance. If you want to solve for resistance, you do voltage over amperage. And if you want to solve for voltage, it's amps times ohms equals volts. So let's do a little quick one here. The reason why you might want to use this as a RC enthusiast is, I don't know. You probably don't have a job similar to me, to where you're fretting over milliohms of resistance differences in motor winding patterns or different stators and trying to figure out your ohms versus your kV so that you can get the maximal cross-sectional area for a particular kV. But if you're a racer, you probably will want to do some of this. If you're going through 2-pole motors, I know some racers, they'll buy 10 motors and then they'll figure out the one with the lowest resistance and then they'll mix and match all the rotors until they find the one that has the highest Gauss rating on it and do all that kind of stuff. But a quick one here, amps times ohms equals volts. So if we have 1 amp being drawn on something that is a 1 ohm, that means that 1 volt is being applied to it. If we do this, nice even numbers, let's say we have 10 amps being applied and we know that the object is 1 ohm, then that means that 10 volts are being applied to the object. And of course we can flip this around. We can say 10 volts are being applied to something with 1 ohm of resistance, and that equals 10 amps that is going through the circuit. Again, I'm not sure why it would be useful for you. You will have to let me know in the comments. When have you ever needed to use Ohm's law? If you as a professional work with electricity a lot or things that have resistance and you need to know them, then you're going to be using this. I know that it applies to things like let's say, security system, to where you will have a sensor, and the sensor has, say, a resistor in line, you have some capacitance to it, for example, and by knowing all of these things, you can deduce, is the sensor still working? Do we have a break in our system? You know, what's going on with it? You can use this for various things, or let's say like a motor, we could throw 1 volt onto 2 legs of the motor and then test, at least for a brushless, all 3 different ways that we can test it. And if one of those legs is obviously out of spec, it'll be very obvious. So we could have, you know, 10 milliohms on one, 10 milliohms on the other, or 11 or 9 or something in there, and then the other one is like 3 milliohms or 30 milliohms. We will know that there is either a dead short in the stator somewhere or a break in the wire, depending on what that data is giving us. So for me, I use it a lot, almost every single day of my life at this point. And maybe it is very useful to you. It is extremely useful for diagnosing circuits and figuring out if there is something wrong. And you can use it to figure out, oh, you know, what is my expected voltage drop going to be on this item? Or what do I need the resistance to be, so that if I apply this voltage, that I know what my wattage is going to be on the output. Because when we multiply our voltage times our amperage, we do get wattage. We use watts more often than just volts and amps in our lives. Most people understand what wattage is. So there you go, just a simple thing, but maybe that helps you understand it. This is a nice little deal. And again, you'll have to tell me when Ohm's law is useful for you. Maybe it's even not, and let me know if you've never had to use it a day in your life, because everybody else around you gets to use it for you. So, as always, thanks for tuning in. Have a great day, and I hope this helped you out. You've made it to the end of the video. Hopefully that means you liked what you saw. If you want to help out the channel, you can like, subscribe, and definitely comment down below. We would like to hear new ideas from you, so be sure you let us know what you'd like to see. There are some other suggestions probably floating by my head right now that you can check out, and otherwise we appreciate your support and your help growing the channel.